And finally, to the monks, have we lost a little bit of connection with kind of an old way of doing things somewhat? Do you ever think that we need to spend more time with, the monks in the mountain in China, or the ones where you went to school with?
For sure,
just
I
get
think
grounded?
you can learn from these guys, because they spent, the Benedictine monasteries are not that old, 1500, but they spent 400 years studying how to live together as a community. So for sure you can learn from them. And I always used to say that when parents, raise their kids, normally it's your first time round and your only time round. The beauty about the monks was 130 kids came through that school every single year, which is what my housemaster said to me, "You think you're special, Tim?" "Well, you are special to me," he said, "but I'm going to get another 130 next year, another 130. I've had 130 a year for the last 32 years. I'm going to have another 130 kids a year for the next, as long as I live," he said. So, I think they have an ability to see things that probably when you're in something, you can't see it.
Right.
Yeah, I think we can learn from different
Did your son go to that school?
He did.
He did?
All my kids went. Yeah.
Really? And do they have a value for it as well?
Yeah, I think so.
And one they'll probably appreciate more when they're
My girl
older?
struggled a bit because it's mostly a boys' school.
Okay.
So she left early, through choice, and she knows her own mind. I didn't try and stop her. And it's still a boys' school with girls in it, It's hard to change 200 years of history. But no, my two boys loved it.
Okay.
One's still there.
Well, you talk about, a design that's your own, and I've actually just been slowly taking notes this whole episode because, for us, we're not, we don't produce a physical component, but ultimately we're judged with how we make people feel, when people tune in.
No different.
And so I'm taking notes when you're talking about this, and, thanks to you, you're playing a critical role on how people feel about London Real by this design. And I remember...
I want to do better.
You want to do better? Well, good. And we should talk about the rest of the studio. It's fascinating because some of the curtains behind you are never seen on camera, and yet I'm always after everyone here to make sure everything's beautiful.
Yeah, but I think what we can do for you is swap it over at a time.
Right.
You're going to look after it. I can find a home for it, because you don't want it to be the same every year, do you?
No.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I've got to think in the future. If I do hospitality spaces, no one's going to want the same furniture for more than 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Otherwise it gets a bit boring.
Yeah.
So I think you need to be talking to us about saying, okay, what am I getting next year?
Okay.
And maybe we have to help you with that. Do you understand? Otherwise,
Yeah.
well, you can take these home.
Yeah.
You haven't
Yeah,
got
yeah.
our furniture at your house, you said.
Yeah, no, we need to get that. And I also agree, it's like the whole studio experiment. Like when people walk in here, this changes the interview I get, because the guests are like, oh wow, this is an experience. When they sit down in that chair, they start feeling the whole vibe, and it gets them in a different space. Also, the users see this from a side angle shot, so they're immediately like, oh. And the guy that set these lights up was a YouTube guy, and I met him at YouTube, and he said, Brian, he said, when people see this set on YouTube, and I know you watch a lot of our videos on YouTube, he's like, they'll give you 10 seconds longer than they will for, say, the next video, because they can see that you guys have put a lot of effort into your design, and that these guys must be serious about what they're doing.
But it must help, wasn't it? It must help.
Yeah, and I think it lets people know that, we're being really thoughtful here, and it makes people just lean in a little bit and say, okay, let me give these guys a little bit of time. And then if you're talking rubbish, they'll go.
Well, I will help you do it differently. Maybe change it once a year, once every 2 years, I don't know.
To watch the rest of this fascinating interview, click on the link below and go to londonrealacademy.com. There you can sign in with your social media, log in and watch the rest of the episode for free, along with all of our episodes on London Real, my webinars, and all of our premium content, all located over at londonrealacademy.com. So click on the link below, you'll be directed there, and you can watch the rest of this fascinating interview, and I'll see you there.